Hello, I hope you are having a wonderful weekend and a blessed week. Today we're at the Park Rapids Church of Christ. We are focusing on our youth camp, which is Fleming Pine Youth Camp up in northern Minnesota. And you'd say, well, Park Rapids is in northern Minnesota. Well, our youth camp for the Churches of Christ in Minnesota is actually up north of Hibbing. And so today we're focusing on how important the camp is and the benefit it has not only for our youth, but for everyone. And so my lesson this morning is entitled, Come with Jesus to a Quiet Place. And our text is found in Mark chapter 6, verses 30 through 32. But to get the setting, before I read this, I just need to understand what's going on in Jesus and his apostles' lives at this point. So in Mark chapter 6, the events leading up to this, just in the first part of chapter 6, up through verse 29, we have the event when Jesus goes to his hometown of Nazareth. And Mark's account, it has him preaching, and that his teaching wasn't accepted. He was looked at as, isn't that just a carpenter's son? What does he have to say? What does he know? The disrespect part of it. But Luke's account tells us not only did they not accept his message, they kicked him out of town. And meanwhile, they were planning to take him and throw him off a cliff and kill him. So that's happened. And his popularity is growing. In previous chapters, he's doing miracles. His popularity has increased. More and more followers, people coming to hear him teach. And they're ministering to these people, serving these people, healing these people, and so on. And then we have Jesus sends out the 12 apostles. So he takes and he sends them out on a mission. So they have gone out on their own to the areas around and town to town, sharing the message of Jesus, healing, teaching, doing the same thing Jesus was doing. And so then we have, just prior to this, the death of John the Baptizer, the execution of John, Jesus' cousin. And so all of this is leading up to the event, to what we're going to read in Mark chapter 6, verses 30 through 32. It says the apostles, now remember they were sent out to minister. It says the apostles Jesus had sent out came back to him. They gathered around him and told him about all they had done and taught. Jesus and his followers were in a very busy place. There were so many people that he and his followers did not even have time to eat. He said to them, "Come with me. We will go to a quiet place to be alone. There we will get some rest." So Jesus and his followers went away alone. They went in a boat to a place where no one lived. Now, for full disclosure, the rest of the story, they get to the other side. The people had seen them leaving, and they traveled around the shore of the Sea of Galilee. And so a large crowd gathers where they've gone into the wilderness to be alone. And that's the event when Jesus feeds the 5,000. And so it doesn't turn out to be a quiet place. But I want you to get the context that sometimes even Jesus recognized that it's important to get away, to go to a quiet place, to spend time with the Father and with your brothers and sisters in Christ. And so I think you and I can relate to this situation where it says Jesus and his followers were in a very busy place. You see, your life is a very busy place, right? Is that not true? Your life is a very busy place. And I don't know what's going on in your life any more than you know what's going on in my life. But I can guess that there's work that you're doing, whether it's that you've got a full-time job, or you're in a situation where maybe you're retired or partially retired and you're just doing other activities and other work. I talk to my retired friends and they don't talk about sitting around all the time. Their lives are just as busy. And so then you have dealing with family activities. If you've got a young family, let me tell you, I know how busy it can be. Activities, events, things going on with school, after school activities, all of that comes with families, young families. You're dealing, hopefully not, but issues, financial struggles. You're dealing with sickness and stress, and maybe you're in the process of fixing up your home or building a home. And the list goes on and on and on. We live busy lives. And the reality is, I remember, actually it was an encyclopedia set, and then they came out with a yearbook. And I don't remember what year it was. It's probably sometime in the mid to late 1960s. That we'd received, my brother and I, from my aunt and uncle. They'd had an encyclopedia set, and they gave it to us while we were, in school. Would be a benefit, even though it was a few years old at that time. That I remember reading in one of those yearbooks an article about the computer and how the computer was revolutionizing how we do things and work. So here we are, over 50 years later, actually closer to 60 years later. And the prediction was that the computer was going to actually shorten the work week, cut it in half, that the computer was going to result in a 20-hour work week. Now, they didn't get that right, did they? Because let me ask, are you working a 20-hour work week? I don't know anyone who is. In fact, I know more people who are working more than 40 hours as opposed to less. And especially when it comes to the area of dealing with computers and working with computers, oftentimes that requires more time. My son works with computers and he definitely puts in full time. And so here's the reality. We live busy lives. Your life is a very busy place. In fact, in Ecclesiastes 2, verses 22 and 23, the wise King Solomon, who wrote Proverbs, who wrote Ecclesiastes, who himself talks about in Ecclesiastes the busyness of life of trying to find fulfillment in the things of this life, whether it's work or whether it's learning or whether it's building, construction, architecture, so on and so forth. And the list goes on and on of things that he was trying to find purpose. And his life was busy. And listen to what it says, Ecclesiastes 2, verses 22 and 23. He says, you work and worry your way through life. Amen. And what do you have to show for it? As long as you live, everything you do brings nothing but worry and heartache. Even at night, your mind can't rest. It is all useless. Now, it's a pretty bleak view of things, but that's Solomon's conclusion after chasing. In fact, the term chasing after the wind is used so much in the book of Ecclesiastes, as well as the word useless. It's useless. What good does it do? All the worry, all the rushing, all the busyness of life. And so understand, that's life. That's where you are in that busy place. And that starts to wear on us. It affects our health. It affects our mind. It affects our relationships. All because we're so busy, work and worrying our way through life, and it's bringing nothing but more worry and heartache. So that's the reality. That's our lives. So you can understand when Jesus tells his apostles, his followers, let's get away. Let's go to a quiet place. So our second point, or the second thing we're going to look at, first was your life is a very busy place. Second is get away with Jesus to a quiet place. You need that. I need that. We all need that. We need that in our weekly lives. We need it in our daily lives. In the book of Matthew, Jesus talks about going to your prayer closet. Now, I don't know what your prayer closet is, and it doesn't matter, but you need that quiet place to go. You need that quiet time. Jesus had that. It's found in Mark 1, verse 35. So it's not just those times when we've got to get away for an extended period of time, a day or whatever it happened to be in this instance, when Jesus is telling his disciples, let's go away for a time, a day, to just relax, to rejuvenate, to refresh, to get away to a quiet place. But in this instance, in Mark 1, verse 35, it talks about a habit that we see Jesus having. It says, and in the morning, a long time before daylight, Jesus got up and went out to a quiet place, and there he gave himself up to prayer. Mark 1:35. Jesus, in his daily life, needed to get away. Now, if there's anyone who didn't need to get away, we would think it would be Jesus. We'd think, you know what, he knows how to handle the stress. He knows how to live in the presence with God. But you know what? He shares a secret by his example, that if the Son of God needed quiet time to be with God, if the Son of God needed to make time in his busy schedule, then what do you think you and I need to be doing? We need to be doing this regularly. Even daily. We need to be making time out of our busy schedule. And that is so important, to just unplug, to just shut off the electronics, to just get away from the busyness, the noise, the constant distraction, to just, and this world is full of distractions, keeping our focus and our mind away from God and his kingdom and his will. And so we just need to get away from that once in a while, sometimes for an extended period of time, just to unplug and spend some time with God. And like Jesus, to give ourselves up to prayer. And then our final point, there we will be refreshed. See, first of all, your life is a very busy place. Second, get away with Jesus to a quiet place. We need to go. We need to follow Jesus' example. We need to be with him, to be with God, to be in those times of just quietness, stillness, free from distraction, noise, stress, worry. And that's where we will find refreshing. That's where we will be refreshed. It was Jesus that offered this invitation to you and I, to his followers. He says, to everyone. He says, come to me, all who are tired and carry heavy loads, and I will give you rest. That's talking to us. That's talking to everyone, because we are those people who are living those hectic, busy lives where we're tired and it seems like we're carrying a heavy load. You know what I'm talking about. You know those nights when you wake up, or maybe you can't get to sleep because your mind is running 100 miles an hour about the things you need to do or haven't done or should have done, and you just can't let it rest. We need that quiet time. We need to be refreshed. And Jesus says, come to me if you're weary, if you're carrying a heavy load. And he says, I will give you rest. Well, that's why I want to talk to you about Flaming Pine Youth Camp. And so, you know what? Check it out. Flaming Pine Youth Camp. Check out their website because it's a place to go. They have camp sessions throughout the summer for all ages. And it's a place where you can get away from your busy place, your hectic everyday life. You can get away with Jesus to a quiet place with other people that want to get away and just fellowship and worship, sing songs of praise in the midst of the beauty of northern Minnesota, in the midst of God's creation. And guess what? When you're there, you're going to find you can be restored, you can be rejuvenated, and you will be refreshed. Because Jesus says, I'm where you find refreshing. Now, you don't have to go away to a camp to do that, but boy, it sure is a blessing. And so, I don't know where you're at. I don't know, what camps you have in your area, but a Christian camp is a good place to go, to be quiet and be with Jesus. And so, FPYC, that's what stands for Flaming Pine Youth Camp, is a quiet spot to go and to be refreshed. So I hope that you will take time in your everyday life, in your busy schedule, to get away, to be with Jesus, to have that quiet place where you can be refreshed. And when the need is there are places like Flaming Pine Youth Camp where you can get away for a week or longer to spend time with other Christians, spend time with Jesus in a quiet place, and there you will get some rest. God bless. I hope that you find that refreshment, that refreshing, that rejuvenation, that restoration in your life as you go and find a quiet place to be with Jesus. God bless.